This is Bless Radio. It's Tuesday evening and 6 p.m. UK time. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushin. I'm Saad in southeast London, and the weather here is very bright, sunny, little bit windy and warm as well. And with me as usual is Gregory. Gregory, how are you and how is the weather where you are?
Well, it's fine, just like you read out about London. Warm, bright.
Warm and bright. Very good. How about windy? Is it windy as well?
Very slight wind, not much.
Okay. Welcome, listeners, to the Spiritual Discussion Program. As I say, the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushin. Every week we have a topic for discussion. The topic tonight is the creation of the human being. The creation of the human being. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And then there is one other way you can also contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, the number 1.com. And if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. You can type in your questions or comments in there. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Uprushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized, and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Apologies, I didn't. So, let me just repeat that. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Uprushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other. as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with seven seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for discussion tonight is the creation of the human being. The creation of the human being. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's another way you can contact us, which is going to the website that where we are broadcasting this show. That is Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. And if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. And in there you can write in your questions or comments. Gregory, as you know, I like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic for our discussion. Just to remind again, the topic is the creation of the human being. So the first key word there is creation. And I looked that up in the dictionary, and there it says, they're giving two meanings actually. The first one, it says the action or process of bringing something into existence. What would you say, Gregory, to that definition?
That definition is helpful. Helpful in the sense that only when one considers these things intuitively, only then can one make a real persistent meaning of this.
So thank you for that answer there. Answer, Gregory, for that. I've got a second meaning also. It says the creating of the universe, especially when regarded as an act of God. What do you say to that, Gregory?
That is merely a description or an assumption, because you're talking of creation, and we are also reading creation of the universe. We're trying to get the meaning of creation.
Yes. You know, the first one was about the process. This one is the noun. Let me see, creation, because creation is a noun as well. So I guess they're using the word universe as creation, another equivalent of creation. However, our topic tonight is the creation of the human being. So we're going to concentrate on that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next keyword in the topic is, again, the topic is the creation of the human being. So the next word there is human. And in the dictionary, it tells me, yeah, it has also given me two meanings there. The first one being relating to or belonging to a person or to people as opposed to animals. Okay, anything you'd like to say on that definition?
That doesn't really give any picture. When one is referring to human, it is the features of the human that should be considered rather than, it's not of animal, it's not of plant, it's not of stone. So that definition is not, it's not good enough.
Right. I think all they could do, the best they could say is belonging to a person, or so some characteristic belonging to a person being human. So I think that's all, which is the same as saying human. So I think there's no other word they could find or description, a better description they could give there. So I will continue. There's a second definition that says, in bracket it says, Homo sapiens, or modern humans, are the most common and widespread species of primate and the last surviving species of the genus Homo. So, Gregory, there it looks like that's a scientific definition there of human. What would you say to that?
It's completely inappropriate because all that has been quoted there is more jargons which are not self-explanatory.
Right. So I'm going to ask for your help there, Gregory. Would you be able to define a human for our topic?
Well, the definition which is unique that one may use to, in quotes, define a human is the feature of consciousness and self-consciousness. Whenever you have a personality that is capable of consciousness or self-consciousness, then that intrinsically is the feature, the capability of that which is human.
Thank you, Gregory. I must say that is a better definition not to have read so far, so that's very good. Okay. The next word is being, and it says in the dictionary, two definitions. The first one, existing. Any point on anything to say there, Gregory?
I think that's good enough.
Okay. And the second one, it says, this again definition of the word being, the nature or essence of a person. What do you say to that?
It's more of a description.
Okay. Right. So now, what I'd like to do is read something from the Bible about the creation of man. And I deliberately chose not to use the word man in our topic name, because I wanted to make it, let's say, in a modern style, which is, because somebody will say, oh, I'm discriminating against women, or it's not clear what I mean by just man. So I just chose the word human being. But in the, anyway, in Genesis is referred to as creation of man. This is in Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 to 9. And just for listeners, I'm going to read some other writings as well, or what other teachings have said about the creation of man as well, or the human being. So this is from Genesis 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God had created and made. These are the generations of heavens and of the earth when they were created. In that day the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. I'm seeing some repetition there. I'm not sure how that has come, but I will continue. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and a man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I'm going to, let's look at this, Gregory. I think there's a lot being said there, but in a way, we want to focus on the creation of man. So let's see. It says, the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So here, Gregory, we are talking of the man on this earth, of course. Is that true? Let me say like that first, Gregory. This word of how man was made, is this a true story?
Whatever is true must have been a fact. Therefore, being a fact, it must be consistent with the laws through which that scenario, which has just been described, the laws which made it possible. So there must be consistency with the laws of nature or the laws of creation. From what you yourself just read out, a process can be seen. Therefore, when you need to contemplate on the creation of man or the creation of the human being, from that script, one can already put together a process which is consistent to a large extent with the laws of creation.
Thank you very much, Gregory. We are going to explore this further, this process, in a little while. The reason is I want to look at other texts, you could say spiritual texts, which also talk about the creation of man or human being. And just so we are aware of them, and we can also just look at them, explore them as well. So this is time I'm going in from Islam, the Quran, I have some quotes there. The, the Quran describes how Allah created Adam. He created man from sounding clay, from mud, molded into shape. This is from Surah 15, verse 26. And there's some other quotes. And he began the creation of man from clay and made his progeny from a quintessence of fluid, which is from Surah 32, verses 7 to 8. So, Gregory, that's one looks similar to what the Bible in Genesis says in the Bible there. Made from dust, it's here is made from clay. And then from there, the rest of the human beings came. Because Adam is supposed to be the first human being. So I'm not sure. Is there anything you'd like to say on that one, Greg?
One can easily see the parallels or similarities in both of the scriptures, and therefore it is consistent. Instead of using the words dust or clay, one may also use matter. And instead of using the words, the expression breath, one may use another expression, which is form of animating. That means breathing life or animation into that which is solid. But again, these are just the initial times. There need to be more discussions as we proceed.
Thank you. Surely we will do that. We'll do that. And now, to another, well, this time it's not a text so much, but it's from the Hinduism. What they, I know they have a variety of sources of their teaching over time, long time. So, but this is, let's say, in general, what I found. So there, again, the creation of man or human being. The story given is a lotus flower grew from Lord Vishnu's navel with Brahma sitting on it. Brahma separated the flower into three parts: the heavens, the earth, and the sky. Out of loneliness, Brahma split himself into two to create a male and a female. And from this male and female, all beings were created. Greg, there's a little bit more to say, but before I do that, this is a little bit different story than the first two that we have read out. So can you just say something about that?
The question I must ask, what is Brahma?
I believe the thing is there are many gods in Hinduism, so I cannot say it's you could say the ultimate god, or because they have a number of them. So I must say I'm not able to answer that. But those names are in quotes God's names. So, but they have a number of them. That's the thing. So I'm not able to say more right now.
Why I want to ask that question is that there are so many variations of one thing, depending on the language, or depending on the peoples, depending on their perceptions. And the same happenings may be expressed differently by different peoples, just to make it vivid enough to be able to paint a picture to pass on to others. But one can see some sparks or some tokens of some representation which seem to be running through all what you have read.
Thank you. I'm going to continue actually because there's a little bit one more sort of bit of paragraph to read out. Again, this is for the creation of man from Hinduism. So according to Matsya Purana, who I don't know actually who that is, sage Manu was the first man and the first human created by God. In the above Purana, it was mentioned that Lord Brahma created. Purana is the source of this text or this story, I will say. But so we won't worry too much on that. We will tell more about the story itself. So I'll just repeat that part then. Sage Manu was the first man and the first human created by God. It was mentioned that Lord Brahma created using his divine powers the goddess Shatrupa, as Saraswati was first called, and out of the union of Brahma and Shatrupa was born Manu. So I will say, Gregory, here, we read earlier, there's this god Brahma, he splits himself into two, which is male and female, and it looks like the name, they have different name for the female, and from there, it was born the first human. They don't give into too much details. It's just like a very short, brief picture there. So, but it does look like God, it is created by God. The process might be a little bit different than what, I don't know if it's different, how can I call it? They say it in a way, through a male and female god. I don't quite know how to say that, but that's what they seem to be saying. And so male and female were created first. That's how I'm going to say it. And then from the male and female, they seem to be the man come from there. I know I'm not very clear, if I'm honest, about it, because I'm not familiar so much with this text. But this is what my research found. So let me try to make it, just say it clearly. Yeah, so they're saying that this god Brahma split himself into two, which is male and female, and then from this male and female was the first man born or created. Is there anything, Gregory, is there something new there that is not so, or maybe it's different from the other two texts that we've read?
As have been put forward, whatever scenario has been expressed by these writings, if these scenarios are not consistent with the laws of nature or of creation, then they themselves cannot represent the actual picture. If there are so many variations, it means one has to dig in to understand these things intuitively and then take out those which are not consistent. So it is very laborious to go into all these things, in the sense that you have a scenario where a being is talked about. The feature of the beings we don't even know. So one would like to progress and discuss the matter, I mean, on its own, rather than bringing all these extraneous forces, which may turn out to be inconsistent and confusing.
Thank you, Gregory. I really do understand what you're saying, because they're like totally different stories, and they're just not consistent with each other. So I can see it can obviously lead to confusion. I just want to go through a couple, maybe three others, just to see what they say, and we don't need to they say examine them like in detail. Just know that what the people are saying, these different traditions or teachings of the past, that that people claim that's how man was created or human beings were created. So now I want to go into the Greek mythology, where it is saying one son of Titans, Prometheus, Prometheus did not want to fight, did not fight with fellow Titans against Zeus, and was spared imprisonment. He was given the task of creating man. Prometheus shaped man out of mud, and Athena breathed life into the clay figure. Prometheus made man stand upright as the gods did, and gave him fire. And I don't know, Greggy, do you want to say something on that one?
One can see a common thread running through all this. That which was mentioned, mud, and then another thread, fire. These are the things which one can just pick out of this.
Thank you. So I will do, I've got two more to look at. This time is Egyptian mythology. And there they say the story describes how the sun god Ra, also called Atum, created his son Shu and daughter Tefnut, and they worked together to create order in Nu, the chaos of the universe. They created humans from the tears of happiness, and then made Ya the moon, and Geb the earth, and Nut the sky. So Gregory's, let's say, similar, um, but they're saying, let's say, one god, but he seems to create other gods, that seems, and then from them, the humans seem to have come. The one thing that is a bit different is they created humans from tears of happiness. So I don't know if that's metaphorical language or is literally true.
Most of these languages are metaphorical now, and just metaphors are used a lot in these ancient writings to convey a particular scenario depending on the maturity of the audience, because those days there was the requirement to have vivid pictures such that many can hold on to it. So the nearest they could do was to have metaphors to illustrate, or metaphors as representation of the actual happening.
Thank you for that. And now, Gregory, I'm going to a completely different place. This is from the science angle, which is this. The source is the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. They say human evolution is a lengthy process of change by which people originated from ape-like ancestors. Scientific evidence shows that the physical and behavioral traits shared by all people originated from ape-like ancestors and evolved over a period of approximately 6 million years. So, Greg, that's a bit different, you could say, from the earlier texts that I've been reading. What would you say to that? Is there any
well, in this? The last script you yourself just read only discusses that which is of matter. It did not discuss that which is of non-matter. Whereas the other ones, they discuss to some extent matter and non-matter. The sciences being able to only investigate that which is of matter speak for themselves. So they can only observe that which is perceptible using the five senses or the instruments to enhance their perception. So that which they themselves are describing are the outermost effects that they have now collated or collected, put together to describe what man is externally.
Right. So this is all very interesting, and I want to, go into it deeper. But before we do go any further, I would like to let the listeners know this is Bless Radio, and it's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Aprushi. Oops, I'm sorry. Good nonsense. Okay, so yes, as I said, this is a spiritual discussion show, and the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Aprushi. If you wish to know more about the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is the creation of the human being. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, sorry, I'm losing where I am. I'll just say that, yeah. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way you can contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. And there you can type in your questions or comments. And as I say, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. And also you can listen to the recording of this show the next day. Go again to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's again the number 1, space Grail message, and then space the topic of the show, which tonight is the creation of the human being. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, there's the number 1 there. Now, Gregory, we've been going through these texts or explanations, you can say, of how the human being has come to this earth, or started on the earth, you can say. Now, each of them, I think, Gregory, you said there's some, you could say, elements of truth there in their descriptions or explanations. However, it's not very clear. Uh, let's say one part says we have been created out of mud, and then life was breathed into us, and we became alive as humans. Other science saying we have evolved from the ape-like ancestors millions of years ago. Um, Now, so that's quite you could say, a different explanation. Um, and you have pointed out that all these, if they are true, or if they, have if any part of it is true, then it must accord with the laws, the explanations and descriptions and how this process is. It must accord with the laws of nature or creation, which I'm thinking maybe first we need to define them. I'm trying to see that if we need to do that now. Maybe before we do that, Gregory, let's just first of all try to understand the human being. I think the nature of the human being, because you said that we looked at the definition of human, and so Gregory, we know on this earth there are animals, and we are obviously human, and somehow we do distinguish ourselves from the animals. So how can you, Gregory, distinguish us, what is really a human being? Yeah, let's start with that.
Actually, at the beginning, the feature which had been pointed out to distinguish a human being from another is that feature of consciousness of the environment and also the feature of self-consciousness from which responsibilities becomes a matter of course. So whenever that self-consciousness is considered and subsequently the responsibilities which are attached to self-consciousness, then that or those features may be used to, in quotes, define a human personality.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. So you are saying that a human being must have consciousness or self-consciousness, and does that mean the animals do not have this consciousness or self-consciousness? Because I consider consciousness also a living, somehow connected with being living beings. So animals are also living beings. If they don't have consciousness or consciousness.
Towards the end, there is, as a matter of fact, responsibilities. Do you hold an ant responsible? An ant is an animal. Do you hold a fly responsible? Do you hold a lion responsible? Do you charge an ant to the courts and say, oh, this ant has eaten this, and therefore the ant is responsible, should be punished? You do not hold that which is not human, you do not hold them to account. That which is human is what you hold to account because of the responsibilities. And that is one of the key features that distinguishes the human personality from the animal. Because worms are animals, you don't hold them to account. Horses are animals, apes are animals, you don't hold them to account. But human personalities, you hold them to account. You don't hold children to account because they haven't reached that age where their free will has set in. So the ones I have mentioned that are not yet, that are not human, you find that responsibilities and free will are not attached to them. But as long as you mention human, then the features of self-consciousness, of responsibilities, which comes automatically using their free will, comes into the equation. For if one is observant for consistency, you do not hold an animal to account or take the animal to court, or you expect the animal to do certain things, like a cat. You say, oh, I'm going to hold you responsible for what you have done. So these are key features which the human personality that is doing the observations must hold on to.
Thank you, Gregory, for that. Uh, I want to now really look at this process of the creation of the human being. Um, you know, you mentioned that the human being is got self-consciousness, and but then let's focus on a particular part of the process. I will say. Um, how man or how human beings came to this earth. Was there evolution there, Gregory? Really? Because we have heard in the other accounts from, you could say, spiritual texts or past traditions that first, I think pretty much all of them do mention there's God or gods, as some of them use. Uh, so that is where God created man, basically, is what they are saying. But from mud or clay, and then the life was breathed into this. Uh, I don't know what to say. This object, or whatever the right word would be, breathed into that mud, and then that became to life. So this is this process, let's say, in most cases of this text has been explaining or saying. Can we have a more, let's say, up to modern understanding of this process, Gregory, so that we can understand in modern language? Because when somebody says man is made out of clay, it doesn't really make sense, in a clear way. So could you give us more the story of this in a modern way?
The scenario has always remained the same. It is the representation, the language used, that seem manifold and thus confusing. As long as many try to grasp these representations in a very narrow pattern, then they are unable to distinguish what is this and what is that. However, one must always remind oneself the representations, they are painting a picture a picture of a process, and as can be easily verified, every picture is a pointer. It's a pointer to the real thing. It is that real thing that one should now consider. The word itself, creation, the way it has been defined earlier, that gives a picture of something, of a product coming into existence. It means it wasn't there before. Now it has been created, so it has come into existence. Existence where? These are the questions each personality must ask themselves. In the process of creating, which we kept stressing must be consistent with the laws of creation, which law of creation is the law of motion. That is why it is a process. It means there is a starting point, and then there is a finishing point, upon which then we say, this is man. So in order to have a clear picture, one must ask, we have a product. What stuff makes up man? What stuff was used in the so-called creation of man? It means, therefore, because that word creation is used, that means coming into existence, that means it wasn't there before, there must be some stuff. These stuff, if you ask the science, they will tell you the elements. If you ask the non-scientists, they will quote all sorts of things, but there must be some form of stuff. So, in this particular case, whatever the stuff is, or the object is, one must call it some form or some radiation or some energy that has been used for the creation of man. Therefore, when one hears or reads from the scriptures that man is created after the image, so the picture becomes a bit more distinct. To create after means there must have been an initial creation before a subsequent. That which is subsequent is after. So some stuff must have been used. These are the scenarios which have not been well examined or not been weighed properly. But the facts which can arise from the picture painted by the creation of the human being gives very precisely the formation using that which existed. That which existed The source is of the Almighty, whatever name we care to call it. That which existed must have been radiating out. So it is the radiation of that is life that is used in the creation of man. There were two parts when you read the scriptures carefully. There is the animation, or there is putting together. That means the radiation and then the animation of the objects that have been put together. But as is usual, consider when you yourself wish to put up a building, first there is an architecture. Could be in your mind. You must have a picture of what you need to put together. If you wish to build a road, you must have a picture, a process, how these things should be done. Therefore, in your plan, these processes are not done in an arbitrary manner, but in a logical, step-by-step fashion. Therefore, you will find in the creation of man, there must have been a template, a model, which model needed to be put together. That model which needed to be put together first with the radiations, that means the stuff that has streamed out from the Creator. So, in that case, we have a model. And then, on the other hand, the animating of this particular stuff. So with that, one may have a fairly clear picture of the creation of the human personality. Again, it was said human to distinguish it from the animal, the plant, or the elements, say the stone. These are different. And that which is human, which along the line we had described or defined as that which is capable of consciousness, of self-consciousness, to which is attached responsibilities because it has a free will. And that is why it can be called into account. That is what is referred to as the human. Again, the last word there, being. That word being gives the impression of continuity, a being. Not that which is temporal. A being means it is continuous. It continues to exist. Else, if it's not a being, it cannot exist in this scenario and then exist again in the scenario. No, a being exists in a scenario. So these pictures have to be brought together in the sense, in the first instance, that there is stuff that is used in the creation at the beginning. And that stuff must be the radiations that stream out. Secondly, there is, as a matter of course, the animation of that which has been created. This animation, which in the scriptures as described as the breath of life. The breath of life itself gives that movement, that motion of reciprocal activity. So from the sketches that has been painted, one may have a fairly intuitive picture as to the proper picture. Which proper picture is consistent with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation, that can be examined in the work, in the light of truth, the Grail message. For the work in the light gives you the radiation, life itself, and the truth, which truth itself remains the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, remains the same. That truth is intrinsic. That truth has always existed. That truth was not created, for it is. Therefore, for some who wish to investigate further intuitively, they may examine the work in the light of truth, where all that they need is provided completely.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer. I want to ask many more questions, but before I do that, let me let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show, and the time we broadcast is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time on Tuesdays. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprishin. And if you do wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is the creation of the human being. The creation of the human being. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way you can contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, and that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you look down the homepage, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any question or comment. And as I say, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space, Grail message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is the creation of the human being. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows, the recording of our previous shows, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. Again, the number one there. Now, Gregory, on this, how can I say, understanding of the creation of the human being, you said has to be taken in intuitively or understood intuitively. And maybe we should just look at that first before we go any further, Gregory. So intuitively, maybe some people don't know what that means. So one, if I can put some ideas first, and you can say yay or nay to those ideas, and then give a more sort of proper explanation of intuition or seeing intuitively. So, Gregory, does it mean not to look at things literally? Because we have heard these stories, literal stories, and even let's say the science is explaining things that we have descended from the apes or ape-like ancestors, that human beings have come from there. So does it mean, not to take in things literally when whatever story is being given, not to, or does it mean like take the conceptions, look at these things in a conceptual way? Please, if you can look at answer that one first, and then we can define intuition in a better way after that.
It is the conceptions which we ourselves have cultivated, the conceptions which basically is a picture, which picture consists of different parts, which parts have been brought together, and like it's mentioned, these pictures form a comprehensive picture, or should form a comprehensive picture, which should be consistent with the factual reality. So whenever that expression, intuition, is mentioned, that expression must give rise to a picture of an impression which is not tied to words. Because most of the things which is discussed, words are used. But you will find words have their limits. It's like a bow. If you stretch it too much, it will snap. And subsequently won't give you anything meaningful. Therefore, that's which is discussed when intuition is mentioned is an impression, which impression must have an effect on its homogeneous, on that which is homogeneous to it. The question may now be, what does one mean by that which is homogeneous? Means that which is similar to it. For when that word impression or intuition is mentioned, one may take a simpler picture. We are endowed with the five senses. The sense of smell gives an impression. The sense of taste gives an impression. Yet, the sense of smell and the sense of taste are completely different. There is, one may also take it to other senses. The sense of sight, the sense of hearing. So when one takes the five senses, including the sense of touch, these by themselves have their distinct impression that leaves an imprint on the personality. It is these five different impressions that is used to build a picture which the human personality uses, albeit which the human personality uses here on earth. Because here on earth, the smell, the sense of smell, can be used to distinguish one thing from another. So also the sense of taste, so also the sense of light, of sight, and also of touch. So the concept which one is striving to paint here is that of unity by taking the different distinct objects, the different distinct senses, bringing them together, that is uniting them, to form that which is holistic. That is more of the intuitive sensing, which is more of an impression. So we have an intuitive impression, which is holistic, that uses these five senses to identify. That's in that same pattern, one may picture the happenings, that which we refer to as taking a step by step, one thing after the other, as written in the scriptures. That in itself is evolution. That means there was a beginning and continuous build up. All right, first step, second step, third step. That's If one pictures it aright, it's an evolution. So, in the case where that which is earthly, in which science is talking about the apes, they, science, in their presentation, are considering only that which they can see, and weigh with the instruments which is available to them. So they have a picture, an earthly picture, which earthly picture has been built up using evolution. So they now have this picture. But we should never forget, every picture is a pointer to the real happening. So the picture which the sciences have built up is only a pointer to the actual happening. Because it is actual, it is a fact and therefore factual. And that which is factual and is in accordance with motion, which even in itself, evolution is progress in motion, that becomes consistent with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this, again, picture. I will use the word picture that you've painted there. So we should see these things in pictures. That's what you've been saying. Yeah, I can see if you go into details, it's easily you can get lost. And one man's language or another people, not even one man's language, one field's language can, or another tradition's language, you can easily get lost if you don't have this big picture, you can say, of the process of the creation of the human being. Now, I think I want to a little bit look at some of the explanations and see if we can start to make sense of them. You know, what I think you're pointing out, Gregory, science gives, you could say, the earthly aspect of the development or evolution on Earth, you know, with specifics that they try and do, but they miss out on the, you could say, the spiritual angle, the other, or the consciousness angle of the human being, of how man came onto this earth. So this they don't go into that. They can't find, because they're not looking at that. So it's quite understandable they miss that out. And then all the other spiritual texts or traditions are giving that side as well, but in a very, you could say, childlike children's stories fashion, but not in specifics. So you can't, you know, look like science tries to do. So I want to like to match these things together and build a story, you know, not necessarily from there, but from the, as you said, the natural laws of how this process actually is, that how man or human beings came on this earth. Now, I know you, let me just think how to begin that. So I think, Gregory, we can say that every human being, there is a conscious, self-conscious, let's call it being or spirit is a better, maybe the more correct word to use, that, let's say, which is the life, you can say, that exists. And that was there before this world of matter that we live, this physical universe that we live, existed. So this spirit being already existed before this world of matter existed. And that's when we see the story that there was the heavens made, the earth made, all this are the world of matter made. But the spirit being already existed before all this world of matter was created. And then at some point, this spirit who lived already be in, let's say, in heaven, that might be the simplest way to put it, because let's say heaven was made first before all the earth matter was made. So it's the human inhabited the heaven, and then from heaven it landed onto this earth. So this is the story that is being said, how human beings came on this earth. And Gregory, and we know you've said that we should try to understand or see these things in pictures, so we can get the right picture and the proper understanding from there. So I'm just trying to see how we can continue. And I just want to know where to start this process. So let's start, Gregory. Let's say the earth was there and is being created already. And we know the first things were, let's say, the plants, the seas, and so on. And then came the animals. And then came man, or human being. After that, that's how this process on the earth developed. And this is supposed to be a process of evolution. That's another thing. Although some religious people don't seem to think that way, they say, no, we have been created, almost like each let's say plant was created. Then each item, if I can put it that way, was created like almost individually, one after the other, rather than actual evolution. One transformation, one form into another form, and then what we have now in the world of today. So, Gregory, can I just clarify that part? When it is said we have been created, and everything has been created that has come into existence, does it mean each one developed by itself, was sort of, I can almost use the word planted, individually itself? Or was there really an evolution from one form to the next form to the next form? So let's say, could we actually say, Gregory, that this everybody in a way has come from, let me see, what can I use? So all the elements that exist on the earth, when there was no, how can I say, living life there, no plants, no animals, did those elements of life, which is plants, animals, and human, have they formed from the elements that earth is made of? Or something else has come into there to make them alive?
Well, thanks for this particular question. Again, one must become an objective in one's investigation. Why is that so? For we know that all that exists in the world of matter which is perceptible to our five senses, that if we look into chemistry, we have hydrogen, right, in the core, and then there are bigger units until we get to plutonium. And when you start from hydrogen, which has so-called proton, and then you also have hydrogen and with an extra neutron, these things are facts. It means they can be repeated and they can be seen. or they are perceptible using instruments. Again and again, you get to chlorine, you get to um, oxygen. These, when you now have these elements standing by themselves, they have their own radiation. These elements may unite with themselves or with others to form compounds. These are facts. What you refer to as salt is part of sodium, part of chlorine. Because from salt, which we use for cooking, we can extract sodium out of it. We can extract chlorine. This in itself is a fact. Denying it is retrogression because this can be tested again and again. So we have that these compounds do continue to unite under different conditions to form molecules, giant molecules, which giant molecules subsequently form a DNA. These are facts which can be verified. Now, one can see, starting from hydrogen, gradually now forming compounds, forming molecules, giant molecules, now DNA, and a combination of DNA. That is what is verifiable for the physical body of man. That can also be found out for all biological systems. These are facts. Now realizing that these are facts, undeniable, then we can use that picture to build up. That you have, starting from hydrogen, you have elements in the inner core, and there is an outer shelf, and that which you refer to as compounds is only a unity of the outer core of elements, not the inner core. Then you start building a picture. Which picture is consistent with the laws of motion? And in that case, you now have that which exists not just like that in an arbitrary manner, but exists for a period of time. Time in itself is consistent with the laws of motion, which law of motion basically is that of reciprocal activity, like has been discussed again and again. So whatever the human personality wishes to examine, here, material earth, This particular scenario is referred to as the world of matter. Now, before we have the world of matter, which world of matter is perceptible to our five senses because we're able to do our interaction, which world of matter contains these elements which have been described by chemistry or physics, whatever we care to call it. We should also know that it is a design like you do in architecture. But one must not be too much in haste. For as with every design, as you have in architecture, you must have a design pattern that you need, a prototype. So, in your architecture, you want to build your house. Then you design, I'm going to have 1 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, toilet here, kitchen there. This design must exist first before you go ahead and start putting it, bringing the elements together. That design, sometimes that design is in our memory. So the design, that prototype exists. That blueprint already exists. Therefore, before the precipitation, the representation of this design, the final gross material precipitation, which we can see of a plant, of an animal, of the earth, of the sun, there must be a design. There must be an architectural design. That blueprint, we must ask ourselves, how did it come about? Of course, it couldn't have been in an arbitrary manner. There must have been a will, a pattern, which is consistent with the laws of creation. Were there no pattern, were there no design, then you would have expected that on one hand, here is man that in quotes have descended from the apes, and subsequently you have palm trees growing from his head. That is not the case. And that it has to go through evolution in a step-by-step manner, as you will find the sciences confirming that you have the elements uniting themselves, first in their inner core, then in their outer shells, already shows that it is not arbitrary, but there must have been a design, which design took place first before the stuffs were gathered together to form that which is now concrete. So that is how it is, which can be confirmed not only in sight, using our five senses, but above all, with our intuition. The picture becomes clear. And that being the case, we will now find that the coming into being, which we refer to as creation, is done intelligently, not in an arbitrary manner. This design gives us the clearest impression of a wisdom, which wisdom already existed and has ordered these things how it should be. More of this, the personality need to examine the work in the light of truth, the Grail message of Abraham, not just take it and weigh with one's intellect. One must examine it in deeds. One must examine it with his or her thoughts. Above all, one must examine it with one's intuition. And also the connection between the intuition and one's thoughts, the connection between one's thoughts and one's deeds. Then and only then will a comprehensive picture, which comprehensive picture leads to self-consciousness. Then one is free.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this again picture that you have painted of, you could say, the process of the coming of man to this earth, or human being to this earth. I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is the creation of the human being. The creation of the human being. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And the other way to contact us is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1.com. And if you scroll down the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. And there you can type in your questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to the recording of this show the next day by going again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, type in the search box, Bless Radio 1 again, space Grail message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is the creation of the human being. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows, the recording of the previous shows, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO .fm/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, let's look at some, I don't know if you can call them theories or probabilities that people are maybe speculating or wondering about human beings. We've told about there's a process of how the human being has come to this earth, these elements, and coming together, which form, you can say, the compounds that we know about. Then we're talking about plants, animals, and humans. They're also made of, you could say, the physical part, at least, the bodies are made of elements, obviously. And then there is, we have been told there's life that is, you could say, implanted into them, which, or consciousness. But then we have animals and we have humans. And we know the animals came before the humans. So the science has done their research or explorations, and they have determined, I don't know if you can call it is absolute fact yet, or if it is just their theory. They're saying that some ancient ants, ape-like creatures have a lot of similarity with us human beings, and we are, you could say, descended from such ape-like creatures over millions of years. So in a way, that's evolution. So Gregory, now, you've already pointed out that we are not the same, human beings are not the same as animals, because we humans have self-consciousness, which takes responsibility for things, while animals are just conscious, you can say, and they do not take responsibility for things. However, Gregory, we do seem to have, you could say, inherited their body, because the ape-like creatures do look very similar to us, but they're, I don't know, they are different from us, of course, as the human and the ape-like creatures. So what happened there, Gregory, that in evolution, that suddenly from ape-like creature, they came out a human? Is there some, how can I say, yeah, what word I can use for this? Is that like another, we and human, are we like a super animal? I'm just trying to understand that. Or are we completely different from the animals somewhere?
Thanks for this particular question. What the sciences have asserted to is that the physical body, which the human personality uses, was inherited from the ape-like animal. The physical body is a tool. Those ape-like animals inherited their own body from other animals that are not as complex as themselves, those animals also inherited their body from the plants. We can describe or define that which is independent of a place, that is able to move from one place to another of its own accord. Those biological systems that are able to steer their way from one place to the other. One may call them animals because they're able to animate themselves and move from one place to another. Means they are able to be conscious of their environment because they are able to respond to stimulations and are independent of one spot. There are others, the plants, that are stuck in a spot, but they are also biological. So one can see the animals, the inheritance coming. Say, if you look at the human personality, inheriting their body features from the lower animals from the plants from the elements. Which elements are hydrogen, carbon, compounds you could see. So you can see the lineage, you can trace it down. But these are bodies. It's like a very simple example. You have your mobile phone. From a mobile phone, you are able to communicate to others. But that mobile phone is only an instrument, just as the body is an instrument. The spark which animates the mobile phone to emit a particular type of radiation such that it's able to transfer to another mobile phone. That spark that initiates or animates is not in itself a mobile phone. It is someone of flesh and blood who is not a mobile phone that initiated it. Earlier, the stress was made that these structures, these carbon structures, these biological structures basically, are also dependent on the chemical structures formed by compounds, by molecules, giant molecules, DNAs. That's all the biological systems they come from. And if we go further, when you leave the molecular structure, you come to the atomic structure. You could see these are all instruments, these are all tools. One thing which one must not deny is that there is a design, there is an architecture, there is a blueprint, which blueprint is able to make use of these structures, which blueprint is able, through its will, to put these structures together. These structures, the atomic structures, the molecular structures, the biological structures, which we are talking about. So it is the biological structures which science is able to make use of and discuss. That blueprint, which already existed, is unable to discuss because it lacks any understanding, is not capable of doing that. Therefore, because that structure is of a different species, that structure, that energy spark, that which is spiritual, that science lacks. It is that energy sparks, it is that which is spiritual that produces the blueprint through its will. And that is why, although you have human personalities, each personality is of a different character, because the spirit, or the spirit spark, is capable of consciousness and also of self-consciousness, and therefore is able to imprint its volition, which is referred here an imprint, that which is intuitive, an intuitive perception. So, looked at from above, to have a comprehensive picture, it is the spirit of man, which is the inner core of man, which is alive or capable of being alive, that makes use of this biological structure, the structure of which we now see and call it the human body of flesh and blood. So one should start from there. It is the spirit that animates the body, that activates the body at the beginning of birth or at the middle of pregnancy. The spirit takes full control of the body, which body, after being born, needs to grow until a certain stage, because the human personality, which is of a spirit spark, needs to know how to use this instrument, this biological instrument, needs to know how to use it aright. Only when it's able to use it aright does it now take responsibilities for its own body. That means it is now accountable. So one must have an intuitive picture of the whole thing. And to do that again and again, the personality, the listener, is to examine this work very rigorously, which work we now know as the work in the light of truth, the Grail message of Abrushin.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer. We can see, to understand this process of how human beings have come to this earth is quite a journey, not just the material one. There's a spiritual angle as well to look at, which and all of these things need to be put together to be in awareness of the whole story to really understand this process. So it's not a physical birth, there's incarnation going on as well. So, from the beyond, you can say. So these things definitely, as you said, science will not really know, because science only focuses on the earthly, physical world. And so this is where really the spiritual knowledge is needed to get the full picture. And really, you need to see it in pictures, as we've been pointing out, the intuitive picture. That is how you will grasp this story, or then the process. Now, we've come to the end of the show, listeners. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion on the creation of the human being. I'd like to end with reading again which I'd like to do from the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled "For Your Guidance." The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive, in the wonderful creation of your God. Aptrushin. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing the listeners a beautiful week and a happy end of the month.
Thank you so much, Gregory. I would like to say that too. Have a beautiful week. Have a glorious end of this month, and a new month starts tomorrow. We'll be back as usual, listeners, with another topic on Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. Take care.